Hello guys, it's Chum here doing another Beyblade ranking video. This time we're doing Xcalibur. This is one of the videos I've been waiting to do for a long time because Xcalibur is definitely a fan favorite Bey, despite it not really being overly important overall, like in the anime and stuff. It was kind of important for a little while, but still not as much compared to a lot of other Beys, and yeah, they really treated this thing well. All 5 Excaliburs were starter releases. They really like this thing, so yeah, it's definitely one of the most interesting motifs from Burst, and yeah, let's go ahead and rank them. So anyway, number 5, my least favorite. This might be a controversial one, I'm not sure, but Zyphoid Excalibur. I know this looks a lot worse than normal because I don't use stickers, but even with stickers on, this thing doesn't look that good anyway. I really don't like how it looks. This part here just looks terrible, and this part up here. The disjointed sword just isn't good. Even when you have the 2 clicks and this comes down, it just looks kind of awkward. I feel like they probably could have figured out a different way to do this. Probably. I feel like maybe you could have used like the armor point here, and like a vertical, core could have looked a lot better. And they just did this for like this really stupid moving sword gimmick, which is like, I'm sure they could have figured out something. Maybe like have a hole on the end of this part here or something on a vertical core. Have it pop down the same way. Just not ruining the design. And yeah, it just isn't great. Xanthus is perfectly fine, and then Sword Dash kinda sucks, but like, it's not the worst thing ever. It makes sense thematically, it just is an unfortunate part kinda. Yeah, this thing, it's just kinda here, honestly. I don't particularly like Scyphoid that much. I think it just has some things about it that are pretty cool, other things they just completely missed some opportunities. I don't like this thing as much overall as I wish I did, but yeah, Xiphoid, it just doesn't feel like a great Excalibur, especially not to end the line. I wish they would have done a lot better here. I had a lot of trouble deciding between 3 and 4, but here's what I went with. Honestly, I think these are almost interchangeable, but still. Number 4, Sieg Excalibur. I think Sieg looks cool. I really like the layer a lot. It looks great. But the gimmick is just that it has metal. We've seen other bays like Nightmare Longinus, for example, be way more interesting, also having metal on the layer. Or even Lost Longinus, a dual layer had metal on the layer, and then Chozet's was just a lot of metal on layers. And yeah, this thing just doesn't feel overly interesting with its gimmick after a while. Just a metal sword. Like, it's cool, but still. Outside of that, though, 1, it's a disc that makes sense, but there's no frame, which I feel like makes it look really bland. And then Iron's a pretty good driver. I don't mind Iron at all, but still, like, this bay just feels a little bit bland to me. The layer, like, just from a top-down view, looks cool, and I like Iron. That's really all I could say, because, again, disc makes sense, but still no frame just makes it really boring, and yeah, the gimmick just isn't really great either. Still a cool bay overall. I mean, it's an Excalibur, and it's not Zyphoid, so I like it quite a bit still, but just a little bit weaker, I guess. Number 3, Buster Excalibur. So this one, I feel like the layer I don't like the look of quite as much as Sieg. It still looks cool, but maybe not quite as cool. They at least gave it a gimmick with like the mode change where you could have like this sword being stationary, or you could have it where it kind of moves around and stuff. It's also metal, but it's at least more than just metal, so they did something here. That's nice. And then also the parts, 1 dash, makes sense for Excalibur. Also does have a frame, a dagger, it's a gold, it looks really cool. I wish they would have reserved hit as the Excalibur frame, but dagger, it looks cool at least, and I guess it makes sense with sword, and sword makes sense, but I don't like it that much either. This bay just has some weird parts to it, but I think it at least looks really good. There's a little bit more of a gimmick to the layer. I don't know, I feel like it's just a little bit more interesting than Sieg, although maybe from a top-down view looks worse, but again, they're very close, but I think I just prefer Buster with a bit more to it, and also that frame compared to Sieg, but it's a very, very close ranking. It's, again, on a different day, I might have ranked them in a different order, to be honest. The same thing can be said for my top 2. Honestly, it's really hard to rank these 2, and again, on a different day, they might be in the opposite order, but again, for right now, this is the order I'm going with. So number 2, Xeno Xcalibur. I like Xeno Xcalibur quite a bit. It's definitely one of my favorite bays from Burst. It's just really, really good. This layer looks amazing, especially for a dual layer. It just looks great. I like the gold sword. That's one other thing. I kind of prefer the gold sword to the metal swords. I like the metal itself, but like the gold just looks really cool, honestly. And then Magnum Impact. Magnum's okay. I like the plastic on the disc the first time they ever did it, but at the same time, I always found Magnum a little boring for some reason, even though I probably shouldn't, but I don't know. It's okay though. Impact was a cool idea, I guess, with not metal, with rubber and plastic together, but it wasn't the best idea and it's a little bit stupid. Yeah, Impact is a little bit dumb. I don't care for it too much. Magnum's just kind of okay. So when you turn this thing over, it's not the best, but I just really like this layer. It's such a nice layer. And that's why it's getting the number 2 spot for me, and why it's honestly almost number 1, because I just like this bay overall. Like, Magnum and Impact aren't my favorites, but they're still fine. But yeah, this layer is just great. But number 1, I think, has to be Excalibur, the original. I don't know, something about this Excalibur. I feel like, even though I almost want to give Xeno number 1, just because of how much I like the layer, I don't know, this one for some reason just still sticks out in my mind as my favorite Excalibur. The layer just looks great. I mean, look at this thing. I really like the red, the gold also from underneath. It's not just a painted on gold, it's, proper, solid, plastic. I like the X in the middle here a ton. I don't know, something about this X. It's not as detailed as some of the later ones, but I still just really like it a lot. Force is a perfectly fine disc and makes sense for Excalibur, and Extreme. The longest running part in all of Burst in terms of like meta stuff. And I know Extreme Dash, kind of replaced it, but still, Extreme, itself is still like top tier. And it's, again, the longest running part in the meta by quite a bit, I think. So yeah, anyway. Extreme, great part. Force is pretty good. And yeah, this Excalibur layer, even though it's one of the most basic, and well, like, yeah, something like Xeno is technically nicer looking, I still just like this one the most. I don't know. Maybe it's just like nostalgia at this point. But I honestly think that Excalibur Force Extreme is my favorite Excalibur overall. And yeah, again, might just be nostalgia, but still, I just really like the design. And also, just compared to other, like, single layer bays, at the time, all of them were just kind of like, colored plastic underneath transparent plastic. This one was way different because the solid plastic underneath was gold and also kind of, comes up on top with the sword parts here. And then what should have been transparent plastic on top is translucent red plastic. And instead of having kind of a open, kind of part right here, just being kind of a blank transparent plastic piece, there's like this X there and there's, holes and stuff. It's just such a unique bay compared to every other single layer and really stands out. And yeah, I think overall it just really stood out. And that's kind of the main thing to, come from this thing. And yeah, I still just think it's the best overall. And that's why I'm ranking it number 1. Again, I do like Xeno a lot though. It's close, but I think I feel relatively comfortable putting this thing at number 1. So yeah, anyway, that's the Excalibur ranking. Honestly, this might have been the hardest ranking because, like, again, Seed and Buster and, the original and Xeno, just very, very close rankings. It's a difficult one to make for sure, but this is the ranking that I came up with, and the one I will be releasing, so yeah, anyway, that's all for this video. And also, this is actually my final Beyblade Burst video before Beyblade X comes out. I will still be doing Burst stuff in the future, but yeah, just kind of a fun fact there. So I guess my next Beyblade video will be Beyblade X related, so I'll see you then. So anyway, thanks for watching, and bye-bye.